absolutely had no idea about. Like, who would have thought this would be such an integral part of becoming a doctor? It's Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, it has really been quite a while since I've last uploaded, mainly because I got busy with exams during October/November, and then I kind of wanted to take the rest of November off to fully relax. But I definitely did want to release a couple of videos before the year ends, so what's a better topic than to tell you all the things they don't tell you about med school in a general aspect. So, first things first, med school is pretty expensive. And I feel like a lot of people don't really give you the specific numbers of how much it costs, but per year, med school costs about $18,000. And considering the fact that you have 5 more years after your first year or your pre-med year to finish med school, you can do the math yourself. That's about $100K that you will be accumulating as student debt. And I guess you can argue that, your student loan is good debt and you don't have to pay interest on it if you live in New Zealand or if you stay in New Zealand. It's still a major thing to consider financially. Also considering the fact that house officers, which is the name we call doctors who work at the hospital straight after graduation, so you have to work as a house officer for 2 years, they don't really earn that much straight after graduation. I was doing some reading, and here's the table actually that gives you the breakdown of how much they earn, and you can see that it's actually dependent on how many hours you do. So yeah, just thinking about the fact that when you get your paycheck, tax is going to be deducted, as well as repayments for your student loan. Yeah, you don't really get much at the end of the day. Okay, the next thing is that med school is just the beginning. You might think that once you've gone into med school, all you have to really do is pass every year and then graduate. But it's not really like that, because med school is just one stage of the long journey you have ahead of you. Once you graduate, then you work for 2 years as a house officer, and then you can become a registrar where you can take part in a training program for a specialty you're interested in. But to get into the specialty of your choice, these programs are extremely competitive. Even in some specialties, only 2 or 3 people get in a year. And in addition to that, you'll be sitting a lot of exams during this time. And those exams also cost money. And let's say you got it into your specialty of choice. Most training programs take about 4 years on average, and then they can take much longer than that as well. And once you've completed that, yes, you become a consultant, but does the learning really stop there? No, because now you got to stay up to date with all the latest research. So the hustle never really ends. Oh yeah, and you'll be doing all of this while you're working basically full time. The more I speak, the more this video should be called Reasons Why You Shouldn't Do Med. But no, in all honesty though, I'm not trying to put you off med as a career pathway. I just want to fully inform you of what it would be like, especially because med gets romanticized a lot in the media. And I feel like these are the things people should know before they make the huge decision. Obviously, I don't know every single thing about medicine, but what I do know, I just want to make sure you guys are also aware of them. So the next point is about your clinical years. So that's years 4, 5, and 6 of med school. And these are the years where you are expected to be working full-time at a hospital. And yes, you still do have to pay your $18,000 per year during these clinical years. I feel like that's a question a lot of people ask me. Even though you're all basically full-time at a hospital, you do have, I think, a couple of lectures and tutorials, but they are quite limited. During these clinical years, you are expected to go rural or go outside of Auckland for 1 year. But the thing about this is you have to fully fund all of your expenses associated with it, so accommodation and everything. The university doesn't really provide any support for that. I think there are some special circumstances where you aren't expected to go, and I believe one of them is if you have a family. So in years 4 and 5, yep, you're working full-time in a hospital without a pay. But then when you get to your 6th year or your training intern year, I think you do get paid a small amount, but it's really low comparatively to how many hours you work in the hospital. Now, this is something that I didn't know until I got into med school, but you can actually take a break. You don't actually have to complete all 5 years in one go. you can take a break, and that's most commonly taken before your clinical years, so 4th, 5th, and 6th years. And most of the time, people take a break to do this MedSci honors paper. This is a research paper, but it means that you will be at uni, so you won't be going to clinical placements, and you'll be doing a lot of independent work on a research project that interests you. Personally, from all the feedback I've heard about this, I've got really mixed opinions. Like, for some people, they really enjoy it. It's very like hands-on, it makes sense, they know what they're doing. And then you have the complete opposite. So there are people who don't really receive a lot of support from their supervisors, they don't know what's going on. Not everyone will enjoy it, but it is there as an option for you to take a small break for your mental health. Now, this is something that a lot of med students above my year have told me about, and that's that med school can be very clicky, and it can be quite hard to make friends initially. Well, I guess like if you start your year online, COVID cough cough, yeah, it can be a bit hard and you can feel a bit disconnected. But I also feel like it's a natural occurrence when you have a cohort of about 300 people. I personally don't believe that med school is super clicky. I feel like from what I've seen, everyone is super nice and uplifting. I thought I'd just include it in this video anyways, because there have been multiple times where I've heard this. Okay, the next one is something that I absolutely had no idea about. Like, who would have thought this would be such an integral part of becoming a doctor? It's reflections. Now, in New Zealand, all graduating doctors are expected to keep an electronic portfolio and also make regular entries into it as per the medical council requirements. Who would have thought that a major part of med school would be writing about how you've grown and developed? It's one of those components that is basically integrated in all parts of med school and assessed in every single year out of the 5 years. Sometimes these reflections are graded on a pass or fail system, but then sometimes these reflections are actually graded on a score or point basis. And that's created a lot of mixed opinions because like reflections are supposed to be personal. How can you give it a, score out of 10? Because it means more to one person than it would mean more to the other person, Once you come into med school, be prepared to write a lot of reflections on, the major experiences that you've had in your life and how you've learned from it. Last but not least, there are so many different kinds of clubs to suit all kinds of interests. There are so many forums, conferences, social nights, informative nights, etc. to explore your interests in medicine. And hey, you can even take it a step further and become one of the execs who organize these events. It's such a great way to gain connections in the field that you're interested in, because connections are literally everything in this day and age. I was just editing the video and I realized I totally forgot about this super important point to say, and that's the fact that med school has a huge drinking culture. Now, every single O-Week event, social night event, club event, or even ball, etc., those events all have a huge focus on drinking and alcohol. Now, this might come off as a bit funny because we're all going to be the future doctors of New Zealand, and it is sometimes a bit shocking to people who hear about this who are outside of med school, but I feel like it is a point that you should know about. And if you don't drink, then don't feel pressured to drink to fit in, because there is a fair proportion of med school students who don't drink. And obviously you shouldn't feel pressured or obligated to state why you don't drink either. But yeah, it's kind of gotten to that point where events that have alcohol will gain the most attraction, and I think med school in general is trying to do something to remove or decrease this drinking culture, but it's quite difficult. Anyways, that's it for this video. I just talked about a couple of things and a general idea that people don't usually tell you about med school. I really hope I didn't put you off medicine. It is an amazing career pathway, but I feel like these things are things that are not always discussed or not always fully unraveled in a way. And so yeah, it's just there for your information. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!